Welcome to this lovely evening, and it's great to have you all in this room. Tonight, we'll be taking a bold step to discuss something which we are sometimes not bold to talk about, which sometimes we all reflect and conscious of getting into it. But I won't be having this project done by myself because it's about a Toastmasters project on that panel discussion. I'm expected to have people with vast experience come on stage and express their view in their own way. So fellow Toastmasters, lovely guests, join me as I'm going to be calling on stage my panelists, which have had the time to research and ensure I have a diverse panel audience. So the first person I'm going to be calling is one and only Jaye. Please jam your hands together as I call her on stage, please. This lovely bold face you can see here traveled all the way from London just for this event. She's been in the multinational space, working in these human resource for years, and the past 6 years, she took a bold step to start our own business. So thank you so much for coming. Can you have your seat, please? The next person on my list is a great man who I've known for some numbers of years. He's someone who is very passionate about diversity, inclusion, and equity. And he has taken a bold step, leaving his engineering career path to take a champion voice into that space whereby sometimes people are scared of to speak up. So join me as I call on stage a great man called Greg. Please. Thank you. Yes, sir. As I've always believed in equality, justice, and balancing the gender, so I'll be calling on stage another lovely face. She is a mother, she is a researcher, and also a proud member of this great club. And her voice is always very needed to be expressed. So join me on stage as I call on Toastmaster Isabel. And as you tend to know, we also need to have another smiling face. In Toastmasters, we believe experience is not something you acquire by just name. It's something you build over the years. And it is a great honor I'll be calling on stage another great man. This person has been in Toastmasters for more than 25 years. He has been at the world stage. He has seen it in and out. Toastmasters within the northwest of this country wouldn't have been possible without this great man based on his passion, commitment, and dedication. And he's a mentor to many of us. So join your hands. Please, I need the hands jumping as I call on stage the great one and only DTM Jaye. Sir, this is your lovely seat, sir. As you can see, he's really a great man with years, age, and experience. And I'll be having someone whose title, when I asked her to join this panel, was a bit shaky. She said, I'm a fighter, a champion for justice. And she has demonstrated that over the years, as she recently won the Novi Award for Bravery. She has stood and served in the military and was ready to be bold to lose her title by fighting for diversity, fighting for equality, and being passionate to bring her voice to this conversation. So join me as I bring on stage the one and only Pia. Thank you. We want to take our time. As I said, these conversations today are conversations which we have to be bold, which we have to be blunt, and we have to express with an open mind. In this world, when we talk about diversity, are we really diverse? Are we really inclusive in our actions? Are we biased in our attitude when we relate to others? Do we take everybody as one? are those questions begging for answers within my heart. And today, I just feel in this room, we all should be bold to share that. So I'll be initiating the conversation as the moderator for this event. To my panelists, thank you so much for joining us. Are we ready?
Ready? We're ready.
They are born ready. And I'm going to make the equation very easy for you all. So can we have to the topic, to the motion, which is all about unconscious bias. To you as an individual, let's start from there. What does unconscious bias mean to you, please, Pia?
I think we all are born and we form little plans. We get used to our parents, then obviously our family members, etc. So we already have an unconscious bias within ourselves, whether we like it or not. When I first came to the UK, I started understanding the meaning of diversity and how unconscious bias was a topic to be actually discussed openly. So I think in some form or the other, we all hold it, whether we accept it, whether we say it out loud, and whether we acknowledge ourselves that we need to work on it to make sure that we have a much more diverse world that is up to us and beyond ourselves. So I think everyone holds it, we just don't accept it.
Great to hear. That's a great perception, which I think I also align to, and I would like to hear the view from all the panelists. So over to you, Mr. J. What does the topic mean to you?
Everything she said.
I told you this man is full of wisdom, and he has just proved that with a great skill.
The simple fact is that not only do we have these subconscious biases, we need them, because historically and way back in time, if we didn't have them, then that big nasty man that suddenly arrived in our village, we wouldn't welcome him. We'd want to know whether he was good or bad. And so we have prejudices. We have ways that we have a filter to decide whether people are going to do us harm, help us, or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean we shoot on sight, although there are parts of the world where that does happen, of course. And that is not what you would call an unconscious or subconscious bias. That's a shooting bias. That's where you shoot on sight and ask questions later. And sadly, there are parts of the world, not too many around here, that it's like that. So yeah, we're all conditioned, as you say, when we're brought up with our parents, by our tribe that we're born into, by the school that we go to, by the whole panoply of things that our lives interact with us, and we form our view. And we can't help it because it is built into us. In fact, I read recently that there's been a study, a very, very big study, it's done worldwide, which has split the brain into two parts. And there are fundamental differences between people. Some are fight and flight, and some are the other way. So,
thank you so much for that ideology added to it. And I also believe in the words of Winston Churchill, he said, diversity is something we all have in common, and every day we should celebrate it. So I love that insight. Over to you, Isabel, please.
I can describe an unconscious bias as having a pair of glasses that we acquire coming from our families, from our parents, from our friends. Then when we grew up, the things that we consume. And I was thinking about the topic, and when I was a child, I didn't have much of a say on what I consumed on TV. And I can tell that a lot of the things that I had in my mind came from TV shows or movies. But when I had the opportunity to go abroad, is when I learned to demystify many of them. So I changed my glasses, but still, I have these glasses. And this is something that we need to keep checking and constantly observing, switching them, adjusting the prescription based on what we see, what we learn, the choices we make when we consume information in books, series, movies, anything.
Great to hear. So those of us putting on glasses, just readjust them now, please. Over to you, Mr. Greg.
Yeah, a lot of what I was thinking has been said already. A word that I often associate with unconscious bias, which maybe we're more familiar with, is the word stereotype. So often the unconscious bias that we all have will stem from a stereotype. And actually there was a really good advert that came out last year from Oslo Pride, which some of you may have seen. I think it was quite viral on YouTube. But it had lots of examples where people were reacting to somebody, and then when they saw that show of allyship, it immediately made them relax. So the very first scene in that advert was a young gay guy by himself on a train, and a skinhead came and sat opposite him. And you could see the gay guy sort of instantly recoil, the fear, the unconscious bias at play, that association, the stereotype was, he's going to be threatening, he's going to be violent, I'm unsafe. And then the guy with the skinhead sort of went to look at the time and revealed a rainbow wristband on his arm. That showed support for the LGBTQ plus community during Oslo Pride. And instantly then that body language changes to one of relaxing. So unconscious bias, it's that what we associate with somebody and what we think we're going to get from somebody, putting two and two together, and more often than not, we're not coming up with four, we're coming up with the wrong answer. But we're associating then to the stereotype, as you said, what we've been conditioned with as we've been brought up. So it's thinking about that association we have with somebody. And to put another turn on it, we're an hour behind on the clock up there. A stopped clock is right twice a day, and that's what we have with stereotypes, where sometimes they're true, but more often than not, they're wrong.
Wow, that's another insight. So really, we're 1 hour behind. Interesting.
We have plenty of time.
Okay, so I'm at the end of the chain, so yeah, pretty much everything's been said. But for me, as well, I would say, growing up, I think we all had this rainbow idea that everybody's equal and the same as we grow up, even though regardless of our background, etc. Then you go into the world of work and you experience sometimes what we call assumptions about individuals. And for me, it's taking those assumptions away and making people realise that we're all the same, fundamentally.
Thank you so much for those insights. So, leaving from where you stopped, you just said we are all the same. And that has made me to bring up this main topic. In a diverse world, are we truly inclusive? Are we all truly the same? Those are questions I want us as guests to feel bold to express your opinion on the slide on the board there. So you can also join these conversations from your own perspective of opinion or thoughts, as audience engagement is also very important for us to be able to enjoy this project. So that's the Slido. Please maximize that. So to my panelists, we'll get back to motion. And this time around, I'll be starting from you so we could hear a lot from you. The theme for the meeting also could relate to unconscious bias in a diverse world. You just said we are all the same. To you, do you think we are truly inclusive?
I'd love to say yes, but the answer is no. I would love to say that, yeah, we are truly inclusive, but as we've all seen globally, there's been a lot of change in that perspective. For me, inclusion means regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, age, etc., everybody should be included, everybody should be involved. But as we see today, that's changing, unfortunately, which is a really sad state of affairs.
So in true sense, we are not yet inclusive?
Not at this current moment in time. And that's because it's changed because of what's happening globally.
Okay. So we want to
go into more of that, I can.
Let me give the other panelists a good expression. So to you, sir, you've been in this great world with your lovely white hair, if I'm right?
Most people say grey, but go on.
Okay. That has also been conscious to what you tend to call either white or grey. So to you, based on your years of life experience, do you think we are still inclusive at the stage?
As you said, it's really hard to say yes to that question right at the moment. There's a lot of turmoil in the world, a lot of things going on. It's quite a scary time. What I do think is that fundamentally, most people are good and most people are inclusive. I think the challenge we have at the moment is that the loudest voices that we hear from are those that have opinions that most would say are non-inclusive. They get the media attention, they get the coverage, and actually I think it's easy in the world at the moment to think everything is bad and everyone is bad, but that's because the voices of that particular group of people are really elevated. So actually I think there's so much good going on in the world, and it's brilliant to be in a room and have everybody stand up at the start and hear all the different nationalities. You know, just straight away it just makes you realise that the diversity we have here is fantastic. But this isn't going to be on the headlines on the BBC, unfortunately. We're not going to be talking about all the good things going on. We're going to be hearing about you-know-who again and whatever he's done this time. So it's about shouting and championing what we're doing to create a more inclusive world, because there are so many good people out there, but their work doesn't get recognised.
Wow. That is also creating more questions, begging for answers. Isabel, you've been in this world as an immigrant, enjoying the life experience as a mother. Do you think the world is inclusive for your son?
I've come to realize that whenever I have a transformation, let's say, I've got to experience something and then I sense the lack of something. So for me, for example, I've noticed around the streets that there are some of these paths to help the blind, and I had a chance to travel to Japan and I saw that there are lots of it, and then I realized that here we have, there is not enough. And back in my country, we don't have that at all. And that made me realize that this is something that can be improved to have a more inclusive society. And then when I became a mom, pushing a pram out and around, these little rams really make a difference. And before that, I didn't realize, but then when I had this need is when I thought, it's not only me, but other people in wheelchairs that also use that. There is improvement, but there is still a lot of things that need to be done.
So we are getting there, slow and steady, but the pace is still low. Right?
I don't have an answer for that.
So,
I see change. I cannot tell if the speed is the right one, but as one thought that I heard once is 1 is more than 0. So 1 is progress, 0 is not progress. So even if it is slowly, seeing a small change can matter.
That is insightful. So no matter how little the step is, we're still making progress, and we're getting there slowly. So to our DTM, Jim, it's not easy being a DTM. You've been in this world for years. Do we think we're inclusive? Do we think we'll ever get inclusive with what you've seen all over the years?
As a little side issue, I have recently noticed something that I didn't notice for many, many years, and that's ageism.
Unconscious
It
bias.
started to affect me as I enter my middle ages. But one thing I would say, getting back to the question, is that this is not the room to discuss this, because I know that all the people in this room are very happy to share and to treat people as they should be treated and expect to be treated. We're a subset. We're not the norm, whether you like it or not. Everybody in this room has already acknowledged, even by just coming here, that we are diverse and we accept it and we work with it and we help. I mean, Toastmasters itself is one of the most diverse organisations you can think of. Go into any club, and you will find people from every part of the world, even Scotland. We've got a member in our club from Scotland, and you know, he's just as nice as anybody else. And that's what you find when you talk to people. They're okay. There is only one rule, and we know the rule. It's not my rule. It's been around for years, and that is known sometimes, I think it's known as the golden rule. The golden rule is to treat everyone as you would be treated. And if we all do that, then there's not a problem.
So we all have to take that on board to be certain we treat people the same way we want to be treated. That is a bonding point I'm noting in my note. Thank you so much. Over to you, Pierre. In your own world, you've experienced a lot within your military, your background. Do you think inclusivity really exists in this part of this world?
Yes, in this part of the world it does. And why I say that, because I was born in India, and there's caste system in India. Even till date, whether we agree or not, the 4 different castes, and within that you have subcaste and etc. I wouldn't go into the depth. It's ugly. When I came to the United Kingdom, I was none of those castes. I was none of those colours. I entered the Navy and I was given a commission. As a commission officer in the Navy, you lead. United Kingdom gave me the opportunity to lead its men and women into war. That is a responsibility. So when it comes to inclusivity, and when it comes to whether we are an inclusive world, my world, unfortunately, is the country that gave me my identity and every single qualification of mine. And United Kingdom is my world. And this country is inclusive. When it comes to the world, oh my God, Jesus Christ, Lord, I'd rather not be anywhere else than the UK, because it is in turmoil. It's probably because everyone is in a fight of power. It's probably because it comes from insecurity. Work on yourself. The day you find peace in yourself, you'll be able to lead others with ease. Adapt to everyone else. Take everyone together, work as a team, and go ahead.
Thank you so much. Please jam your hands together for them, please. We all have been able to digest to say what inclusion means to us. We've answered the question if we think the world is inclusive or not. So let's now dive deep into our personalities. At some point in life, any one of us have experienced unconscious bias in any way. Even we ourselves have displayed it to somebody else unconsciously. And at moments like that, you ask yourself, have you been aware of your actions, how it affects a fellow person? So I'm going to be asking you, Jade, in life, based on personal conversation we had, I know you've talked about different experience about unconscious bias, being treated unfairly. So can you share with us any personal examples too, or at what point did you really realize experiencing unconscious bias, and how has that impacted your life to how you see the world in a different way? Thank you.
Okay. So I am, as Ola has rightly said, I've had an extensive background in recruitment and HR. And I actually got to leadership levels within those roles. Now, in those spaces, obviously you're going to see certain things. And in one of my many roles that I undertook, I had a situation where I was in a meeting and I was sitting down with somebody quite senior in my business, and literally opened up my MacBook to have a discussion about people that we needed to bring into the business. Literally, as soon as I did that, closed it, and as soon as I opened it, the individual I was having the meeting with said no. I was like, but why? Why are you saying no? In my mind, I thought, there's only one reason, one thing that you could have seen in that nanosecond that I opened my MacBook. So I probed some more, and I said, so why is it no? Obviously, we're looking at overall the structure of what we need to do, what we need from an employee perspective. Why is that a no? In my head, again, I thought, this can't be the reason why this individual is saying no. I then said to him, well, why is it no? He said, and let's say that the name wasn't British sounding. So I said, well, so why have you rejected this person? The person's come from an environment that you need to understand, etc., etc. It's like, no, we can't have any people that are brown, additional brown people, were his words, in our business. So yeah, I've experienced it from that. From that perspective, I did have to go on and coach him and state that regardless of an individual's name, we look at the experience, their background, and what they can bring to the business. So from my own personal perspective, I've experienced that.
Great to hear. Mr. Greg, you've been in engineering for years, you've been in diversity inclusion activities for so many years now. You've seen it from all sides of the coin. What's been your experience?
It's my experience. I'm actually in a bit of a fortunate position in some respects. As a white man, I don't like the word privilege, but I definitely get advantages as a white man. My diversity is that I'm also a gay man. I mentioned the word stereotype earlier on, and I don't think I fulfill the stereotype of what people expect of a gay man. So I have that advantage of being able to make my diversity hidden. And unless I actually bring it up with people, then typically they don't actually realise that I'm a gay man. My background's engineering. I just recently retired from football refereeing. These aren't things that you would associate with a gay man. So I have that cloak almost, where I can choose to reveal myself, which people of colour can't do, which women can't do if they're in a male-dominated environment. So I have that advantage. A lot of what I hear actually comes from people who don't know about me. So I hear a lot of comments on the side, homophobic comments, for example, banter, that word, where people don't actually realise that they're causing offence to individuals because they don't know who's around them. So unless we actually go out there and learn about people and engage with people to understand them, then you don't necessarily know that you might be causing upset, you might be causing offence. So it's an advantage in that I can stay hidden, but it can actually work against you because you're receiving comments and you have to make that decision about whether you want to step in. But it is very much an advantage.
So to you, do you think those people carrying out those actions, is it more of ignorance or intentional act, or just?
It could be either, but I think a lot of it is people will change their behaviours when they know that they're causing upset. So something is funny when there's nobody in the room being affected by that joke. So in a manufacturing environment, for example, you get that banter and it's the camaraderie and it's just to make work fun. And they'll make jokes at people's expenses. But if you don't know you're causing offence, then you're possibly more likely to say it. But as soon as in most cases, when somebody realises that actually that's quite offensive to an individual, then your beliefs will change or your attitudes will change. Same with, for me, my experience of coming out. People changed to me after I came out, but it was because they were starting to accept who I was. So some of the comments I might have heard previously actually stopped because we realised that's not appropriate anymore.
Great to hear. Great insight, and thank you for educating us with your personal experience, which is a great insight for many of us. Isabel, same questions apply to you. Can we just hear more about your personal perception, experience as an immigrant, as a mom, as a researcher in this part of this world?
I have a very interesting time when I got my first job as a young female engineer entering the industrial world, working on an industrial site. I had these characteristics that I felt were sort of a disadvantage in my workplace, being a young, recent graduate woman entering the workforce. And I can certainly say that this experience made me change the way I approach to people. I had to grow like a thicker skin to be able to stand in front of people, to talk, to make my voice heard. I had one of my mentors in the company. He was very, very good at saying, you need to make yourself visible, and he put some challenges to me for me to bring them up and show my voice. And he left the company, and nobody was in his role for a while, but that gave me the opportunity to carry on the projects and made my voice heard. Coming then to the UK, I found that being a female researcher in an academic environment is pretty well supported. Being a mom, so bad. Being an immigrant is something that we don't talk much about. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. You're opening so many aspects to make this conversation more bold. So Jim, same applies to you. You've seen it in different ways. You've been in Toastmasters for years. You've been in different contests, competitions. Do you think they have been just in competitions? Do you think have you experienced it even at where you needed to go to the world stage competing? I want to hear from a perception from a Toastmasters past experience since this forum is on the Toastmasters International.
I could talk about that, but I know you're going to look at me and think, he's sort of perfect, and it's unlikely that he would suffer in any way at any time. He would obviously be raised on a pedestal, perhaps worshipped. But I've got to tell you, when I was a young boy, I had something called a strabismus. It's a lazy eye. One eye was in the pot and the other was up the chimney. And my mum spent a lot of time with me saying, don't worry about it, people might make fun of you, but they're only joking. And when I had my glasses on and going for the first day at school, she said, now, some people might call you Specky Four Eyes, but they're only joking. They're not being nasty, it's just a funny thing to call you. Okay, Mum. I was at the queue to go into school. And in front of me, about 2 people in front, there was a boy who had a monocle. I'd never seen that before. And I immediately went up and said, Specky Three Eyes! And he was upset. And I was just joking. And my mum had told me that it was funny to say this thing. And my mum then told me, you shouldn't say that. But. See, sometimes we tell people it's okay to laugh and joke, but it's not. It does hurt people. And now I've got another slight problem. The other day I was buying some alcohol. Yes, I do sometimes buy it. Don't drink a lot. And the lady said to me, can I know your age? Obviously I'm a suitable age to buy alcohol. And she said, yes, but if you're over 65, I can give you a discount.
You can see, experience. Oh, jam your hands together for that, please. Yeah. We needed that reaction. So it means if you're over 65, you just add a tip here whereby you can get alcohol for free. I don't know if that's part of what we're discussing, but Jim, you have the privilege to always express that. Over to you, Pierre. You're laughing, smiling. But Jim, you made reference to something which I think we all should take back home. Sometimes we are always not conscious about things we say, how it sounds to the other person. To you, it's fine. I'm just expressing myself, I'm just making fun. But to the other person on the other side, there's a way they take it, there's a way they interpret it. And that creates more questions, which I'll be going at the third round to say, let's start thinking about what solutions we're going to do. But before we do that, Pierre, can we hear your view, please?
Apologies on being hysterics on that. That was amazing. My side of the story was I joined the military, naval service, and then during my time, I witnessed a few events, not regarding myself, but witnessed 2 events with someone else. And I started writing down about it. I was then told by my superior personnel not to do so because I was one of them.
I was a team, you know, they absolutely loved me. Das, they always looked after Das, you know, no one touched Das. Das always their baby Das, you know. They would always take care of her. And if I was to do so, I would be going against my family in a way. Unfortunately, my moral compass, and we have a C2 drill, which is taught to you during training time, and my moral compass did not agree to that. Therefore, I continued my writing of my service complaint. 600 pages was submitted with 11 head of complaints to the Navy, and every single head of complaint was then rejected. At that point in time, when you're suspended without pay, and your 11 head of complaints submitted with evidence has been rejected, you really think that, what do I do now with this? So I then took it upon myself to make the judgment that this is going to have a catastrophic failure on my career. But for the betterment of the next generation, I went ahead and I submitted that to the Parliament, the Defence Committee, that took out further investigations within the tri-service.
I think we're interested to, please jam your hands together. I can remember when I asked her what is going to be our introduction to be part of this panel, she said she's a fighter and a champion for justice. But you've just created a momentum, and we would like to hear for another 1 minute how that whole event went, because that is already building a momentum within the audience. Audience, please feel free to use the Slido to express your feedback, comment, questions, or your thoughts, or even personal experience of situations of unconscious bias. Over to you, Pierre. 1 more minute, please.
What do you want?
Express, let's know the ending. How did it end?
I think it was very evident from day one. So I looked at, I was the only Asian female engineering officer, and going, and within the submarine service side, you know, you're dealing with the engineering systems which are absolutely classified, whether it's the reactors, etc. But when you look at my day one was when I saw the HMS Queen Elizabeth camaraderie, and you had the commanding officer, white male, senior officers, white males, junior officers, female, male, white, senior NCOs, majority white, junior NCOs, all colored. And I sat there and I said, does no one look at this and think there's something wrong? Or is it just me? And I think from there onwards, I started championing more female to come and join the armed forces, the Navy, more ethnic minorities, proactively went to ethnic minorities. I even went to mosques where I was actually told off. One of the families came to attack me because my uniform consists of a skirt. They said, how dare you come here showing your skirt or showing your leg? Yes, you know, my own Defence Hindu Network personnel did not support me because there's something known as the crab system. I don't know if you know about this. Within certain communities, if one person goes up, the other person tries to pull them back. Yeah? We need to remember one thing, we're here to support each other and provide shoulder, regardless of whether you're getting a promotion or not. Put a shoulder to each other so that the other person can put their feet up there and jump. And that will unite us all.
Wow. Thank you so much for that great, supportive, bold step. So fellow guests, fellow Toastmasters, I believe this great point being said, we all need to be there to support each other. So ask yourself, within your conscience, when I'm pointing my finger to him, this other 4 fingers is pointing to my conscience, asking me, am I really supporting my fellow friend? Am I really supporting my fellow sister or my president? Or am I being true within myself, not just accusing the other person? Am I really doing the right thing? Am I being a really supporting hand? As they say, we rise by lifting each other up, and I hope we all can do more of that. So to the closure questions, we've all expressed our opinion, our thoughts, but it's not about we talking it out. We need to also talk about the solutions. So to panelists, we've all been involved in different aspects of our lives. What action plan, simple, realistic, practical, you think we all can take away from this moment and reflect towards making the world more inclusive? If we are saying we're not inclusive, what other actions do you think within your conscience you're doing to be bold to express things like this? Over to you, please.
Okay, so thank you.
Sure.
So from my perspective, I came out of the corporate world and I developed a brand, a fashion brand. And the fashion brand is based on the Ghanaian culture, but with a bit of a twist. So my brand is about expression. So you see all the symbols here. These are Dinkra symbols. But what I wanted to do was develop a brand that included and was inclusive of everybody, regardless of race, sex, gender, size. And because it's such a bold statement in terms of what the items I make are, I get a lot of people coming into my shop and my environment saying, oh, can I wear that? Is it cultural appropriation? I said, no, it's not cultural appropriation, it's cultural appreciation. And that's so fundamental. We have to become a society where we appreciate everybody's culture, race, gender, everything, because that's the only way we'll move forward successfully.
Thank you so much. Whoa, jam your hands together. That is so powerful and impacting. And I love the fact that she has not just said the word, she's already practicing it and making impact to that. So that is a good call of action. So to you, sir, you are within the corporate environment, you've been making your impact. So can we know more? Or what can we do? What are you doing? What can you do with the organization? What do you think we all too can take or learn from your experience?
I think about from a corporate setting, I think one of the lessons I've learned in the last couple of years is that a lot of people are increasingly polarized in their views, and people get stuck in their own view and don't actually acknowledge or appreciate or even try to understand another person's view. So I think there's such a huge gap now between the left and the right. People aren't willing to talk. So I'm consciously trying to engage more. I live in a social media bubble. You know, I was shocked that Kamala Harris didn't win the US election because all I saw on social media was this fantastic support for her. And it made me realise the bubble that I live in is just giving me more and more around what I already believe and what I stand for. And that encouraged me to think, actually, we have to engage with people who are different to us, whether that's different characteristics, beliefs, opinions, whatever it might be, to try and actually understand and try and find some common ground. We used to have that much more than we do now. So I think it's really important that we engage with people who are different to us, try and find that common ground, find an understanding. It makes me really, really uncomfortable sometimes when people have really extreme views that do not align with my principles. But if I don't listen to them, if I don't engage with them, then all we're going to keep doing is having this sort of two sides to the argument where we have that polarization and we'll never find a middle ground. So I think we have to consciously embrace what can be uncomfortable, learn about others, and try and find an appreciation for each other.
Oh, that is great to know. So you've been in corporate affairs. You've seen it all from different organizations, being bold, talking about inclusion, talking about diversity, I think is now a bold statement most businesses are trying to claim. Do you think they are getting it right? Do you think it's just a tick box exercise? Or do you think there's anything we can do more to be effective in that use of word?
I think actually what we've learned over the last year or so is the companies that are doing this for genuine reasons because they believe in it, or companies that have been doing it to tick a box and look good. Because there's been a lot of pressure on some organisations recently to backtrack from their ED&I commitments. So this has actually been a really good test to see who means it and who doesn't. And what's interesting is I think Target and Costco in America, or perhaps it was Walmart, but there's two of the big supermarkets in America took different paths. One withdrew from their ED&I commitments, the other one fully embraced them and re-emphasised their commitment to them. And the one that re-emphasised their commitment did well. Sales fell. I think it was Target. Sales fell. The number of shoppers went down. Their share price went down. It was actually for the organisation that was supporting ED&I, reaffirming their commitments, they started to really excel and their share of the market grew. So it shows that, again, that point made earlier, and there's a lot of good people out there, then if we embrace it, then we will see good come from it. But I think it's an opportunity for companies to stand up for their values and actually put a bit of truth and commitment behind what they say.
Great to hear. So, take out action from that is we all should embrace this diversity. We all should embrace our principles to stand for our values of one humanity in respect of the color, gender, background, and experience. So back to you. What action are you taking? How are you ensuring the world or years come for your lovely son? This world is going to be really true diverse for him or inclusive.
One thing is to speak out. When you have this feeling that something is not right, say it, communicate it. And if you have this feeling that something is not right in another person, you can also say it. You become an ally, giving a voice to those who cannot speak out. And whenever you have this opportunity to be in a position to make more impact, or that your actions become stronger in a position of, let's say, power, if you have the opportunity to become that, do it. Invest your time and trying to make this change. As I mentioned before, even if it is a small step, it can matter a lot, especially for people that have been disadvantaged by the system, the time, the geography where they born. We don't have the same starting point. We all have different starting points depending on where you were born, the time that you were born. So if we have the opportunity to be the voice, let's do it.
So definitely that's a clarion call for we all to try to be a voice. And those were one of my motivation for picking up this personal project, picking up this passionate topic, which is very dear to my heart. In sharing of my bold voices and memories, I could remember August 18, 2018, on a public bus, bus 33, going from Southall to Piccadilly Station. I was slapped in the bus by two, definitely are going to be within the age of 16 to 20. To them, they felt somebody like my background in the bus, they could assault me. Definitely with my paramilitary experience, I could have said I could take them on board and display back my anger or revenge. But I don't know what got into me that day. I was very calm, cool, calm, and collected. And that experience created a momentum in my head somewhere. The bus driver of that bus needed to come to me when I was about alighting and said, "Mister, I know this is not a good experience, but just for the sake of peace, don't do anything. Go." It was a voice, he said, and that voice kept pushing to me saying, sometimes you need to know when to pick up your fight, you need to know when to express your voice, and you need to know when to stand for justice. That is over the years. But today I felt a topic like this is something relevant to reawaken ourselves in this modern world, saying, when we see injustice, there are ways we need to take bold steps to start supporting them to make impact. So to you all sitting there, ask yourself, what am I doing to make the world more better, more inclusive? But definitely, I would need to hear your own view. Over to you, Mr. Chip.
You're asking me a question?
Yes, what are you going to do to make the world a better place, to be more inclusive?
I'm just going to have a nap, I think.
I love this man.
You know, there's sometimes you just think, why the hell do you bother? You know, you look around and you watch the television, you see certain people saying stupid things. And you say, why? Why do I get up? Why do I go out? Why bother? Let's just talk about my family. Let's just talk about what I want to do. I don't need to share things with the world. I don't need to change the world. That's not my role. But sometimes there's something deep inside you that says, I'll just try doing something. About 24 years ago, a friend of mine said, have you heard of Toastmasters? No. What's that? He explained it. He said, I think we should start in Manchester. So we did. We started Manchester Orators. And what we started to learn then, that what we heard tonight about the voice and the way you share your ideas and tell people what you think, but not just that, listening to other people and how they see the world and understanding from their point of view is what happens at Toastmasters. It happens in the table topics, it happens in the speeches, it happens in just chatting in the break. We have people from all over, from all disciplines, from every walk of life, and they arrive at Toastmasters and they do two things. They share with us their view of the world, but more importantly, they listen to ours and we get better for it. So growth, if there's one thing we can all do, a plan, if you like, is to just get more involved with Toastmasters. We've started 5 clubs in this area and we're about to start another one, and here's the pitch. If any of you live near Altrincham and would like to be part of a new club, we're trying to start a new club in Altrincham. And that hopefully will bring diversity and joy to many.
Ooh. So when I told you earlier, he's a grandfather of Toastmasters. He lives it, he breathes it. And thank you for that insight again, doing the publicity for Toastmasters free of charge. Over to you, Pierre. Your closing remark or action plan.
I think emotions are our strengths. As Ola explained, his very personal, a very painful action that took over yourself and something that channeled you. And he very correctly did not react to it. I believe every single time you get insulted, you come over, an adversity, take that emotion, take that insult, ignite that fire within you, channel it, and excel. Excel in whatever field you are, because when you're on the top, you can make the changes. But in order to make the changes, you need to reach that top. The only way is by developing yourself to an extent that no one can ever touch you. So develop yourself, put yourself out there, do a lot of reach, a lot of STEM activities, smile, love, and compassion is contagious. Please give it to as many people as possible, even those who give hate, give them love and see them crumble because they're so insecure. Yeah? And finally, just unite each other and support each other as much as possible. Thank you.
Please, jam your hands together. Definitely, those lasting words put a big impact to us all. Fellow Toastmasters, lovely guests, my great panelists. It's been great privilege for us to hear these diverse views. But the question I'm going to ask you is, from all what's been said, what is your personal take-up action? My finger points to you, but the 4 fingers also point to my conscience. What am I doing as an individual to make this world a better place, to make this world a more diverse, inclusive world? And my actions should not just be mere words to tick a box, should be questions I should keep asking my heart, but be bold to speak, support, and show that love even to the most hated person that express hatred to you. And to live with compassion, because it is a small world out there, and we all can make the world a better place with our own little tiny action we keep on taking. So I take this call to say, as we put this panel discussion project to an end, let's boldly all rise, please. Yeah. I put a pledge to your hand, please, to your chest. I will say, I pledge to try my best to make the world more inclusive. So can we all say that together, please? I pledge
To make the world
More inclusive.
Inclusive.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And that brings a closure by we all jamming our hands together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.